He was cruelly cast aside by his flesh and blood, abandoned without a second thought solely due to his physical appearance. As the years passed, he made a shocking and emotionally charged decision to confront those who had forsaken him. Society often extols the birth of a child as one of the most profound and miraculous experiences one can have, painting a picture of boundless love that springs forth the moment one holds that delicate, innocent infant. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Yet this idealized vision does not hold for everyone. For this particular baby, the brutal reality of parental rejection was starkly apparent when he was callously abandoned simply because of his looks. In sharp contrast to this tragic narrative, Yasmine Mills represented the epitome of high school glamour and popularity. She effortlessly showcased the latest trends, her wardrobe brimming with cutting-edge fashion and her accessories reflecting the pinnacle of style. Her beauty was not just remarkable, it was mesmerizing, captivating everyone who crossed her path. With a sharp intellect and a sense of humor that could light up any room, Yasmine was well aware of the power her appearance afforded her. She maneuvered through her teenage years with a self-assured charm, using her striking looks to sway and influence those around her to fulfill her desires. While many girls looked on with envy, feeling overshadowed by her radiant presence, a throng of boys competed fervently for her attention, each one yearning to be the one who could win her favor. Yasmine's life seemed like a perfect fairy tale to the outside world, but beneath the surface, a more complex reality unfolded. Despite her outward success and the attention she commanded, her life took a dramatic turn when she encountered Owen. He was a new student, embodying the ideal of tall, dark, and handsome. His arrival created a stir among the girls at school, but Owen's heart was drawn to Yasmine, and the two quickly became inseparable. Their relationship blossomed, and they soon became the most talked-about couple in school. Yet their lives took an unexpected turn when Yasmine discovered she was pregnant. At just 18, she was overwhelmed by the news, unsure of how to navigate the situation. Both she and Owen felt unprepared for parenthood and the responsibilities that came with it, despite their initial decision to keep the baby. The pregnancy proved to be a harrowing experience for Yasmine. Her once perfect physique transformed as her body changed in ways she found distressing. She grappled with physical discomfort, skin issues, and a feeling of constant nausea, which contrasted sharply with her previous idealized image. Despite these challenges, she and Owen clung to the hope that their child would inherit their good looks, envisioning a future as a perfect family. When Yasmine finally went into labor, the experience was grueling. After hours of labor, the moment of truth arrived, and the couple eagerly awaited the reveal of their baby. However, the sight that greeted them was far from what they had envisioned. The baby, whom they had hoped would embody their ideal of beauty, was covered in thick, dark hair and had a chubby, misshapen face. The stark contrast to their expectations was jarring and left them both in shock. Unable to reconcile their disappointment with their initial hopes, Yasmine and Owen made the heart-wrenching decision to put the baby up for adoption. They named him Peter and signed away their rights, believing they could no longer bear the stigma of raising a child who looked so different from what they had anticipated. Peter's early years were marked by a series of foster placements, as his unusual appearance made it difficult for him to find a permanent home. But fate intervened when Heather Finch and her husband Gabriel chose to adopt him. Despite Peter's appearance, the Finches saw beyond the surface. They were moved by his joyful demeanor and determined to provide him with the love and stability he deserved. As Peter grew, he thrived in the nurturing environment of his adoptive family. His brothers Michael and Tom supported him against any teasing, and the unconditional love he received shaped his perspective on life. When Peter turned 18, his adoptive parents revealed the truth about his adoption. Despite the shock of learning his biological parents' identities, Peter's love for his adoptive family remained unwavering. Driven by curiosity and a desire for closure, Peter sought out Yasmin and Owen. When he confronted them, he was met with the realization that their lives had not lived up to the glamorous vision they had once held. Instead, they faced personal and professional struggles. In an unexpected twist of grace, Peter thanked them for the decision they had made. His gratitude stemmed from the fact that their choice had led him to a loving family and a life enriched by lessons about the true value of a person. Peter's visit concluded with him leaving Yasmin and Owen's doorstep, his heart lightened by the realization that he had found his place in the world. The story of Peter's journey is a poignant reminder of the unexpected turns life can take and the profound impact of love and acceptance. Life unfolded for Yasmin with a sense of ease and privilege, amplified by her affluent background, which afforded her a level of comfort and opportunity few could rival. During her final year of high school, at the age of 18, she met Owen, a new student, whose arrival sparked an electrifying buzz throughout the school. Owen embodied the quintessential tall, dark, and handsome archetype, and his presence was magnetic. Instantly, he became the center of attention, with many girls captivated by his enigmatic allure. However, it was Yasmin who captured Owen's heart in a way that defied expectations. Their connection blossomed, intertwining their lives in ways neither could have anticipated and adding layers of complexity to their high school experience and beyond. Their relationship developed quickly, and the couple became the most talked about pair at school, their chemistry undeniable. Yet, just as their lives seemed to be unfolding in perfect harmony, an unexpected twist altered their destinies irreversibly. Yasmin discovered she was pregnant, a revelation that left the 18-year-old girl in a state of stunned disbelief. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on her as she shared the news with Owen. The young couple was thrust into a whirlwind of emotions, grappling with the overwhelming uncertainty and fear that accompanied the news. Faced with the reality of impending parenthood, Yasmin and Owen were paralyzed by the enormity of their situation. They were young, with dreams and ambitions that felt out of reach, and the thought of raising a child seemed daunting. Their initial reaction was a mix of shock, denial, and confusion, as they struggled to come to terms with their new reality. After much contemplation and a careful evaluation of their options, the young couple made a difficult decision. They chose to keep the baby, despite their reservations about their ability to provide for and raise a child. The pregnancy was an arduous journey for Yasmin. Her once perfect physique transformed in ways that were difficult for her to accept. As her body grew and changed, she struggled with feelings of loss and dissatisfaction, compounded by the physical discomfort and skin issues she experienced. Despite these challenges, Yasmin and Owen clung to the hope that their child would inherit their good looks, and that they would eventually become the ideal family they had envisioned. Finally, after 9 long months, Yasmin went into labor. The process was grueling and lasted for several hours, but eventually their baby was born. When the moment of truth arrived, the young couple eagerly awaited the reveal of their child. However, their anticipation turned to dismay when they saw their baby for the first time. The infant was covered in thick black hair and had a chubby, misshapen face far from the cherubic image they had imagined. The stark contrast between their expectations and the reality before them was jarring, leaving them both in shock. Unable to reconcile their disappointment with their initial hopes, Yasmin and Owen made the heart-wrenching decision to put their baby up for adoption. They named him Peter and signed the necessary paperwork, believing that they could no longer bear the stigma of raising a child who looked so different from what they had envisioned. Peter's early years were marked by a series of foster placements, as his unusual appearance made it difficult for him to find a permanent home. However, fate intervened when Heather Finch and her husband Gabriel decided to adopt him. The Finches, who had already raised 2 children of their own, were moved by Peter's joyful demeanor and determined to provide him with the love and stability he deserved. Despite his appearance, they saw beyond the surface and welcomed him into their family with open arms. As Peter grew, he thrived in the nurturing environment of his adoptive family. His brothers Michael and Tom stood by him against any teasing and supported him with unconditional love. When Peter turned 18, his adoptive parents revealed the truth about his adoption. The revelation was a shock to Peter, but his love for his adoptive family remained steadfast. Driven by curiosity and a desire for closure, Peter sought out Yasmin and Owen to learn more about his biological parents. When Peter arrived at Yasmin and Owen's home, he was met with a scene that starkly contrasted with the image of youthful glamour and privilege he had imagined. The years had taken their toll on Yasmin and Owen, leaving them with tired faces and struggling with their challenges. Yasmin, once the epitome of high school beauty, had faced personal and professional setbacks, while Owen's appearance had also changed significantly. Confronted with the reality of his biological parents' lives, Peter made a surprising and emotionally charged decision. He thanked Yasmin and Owen for giving him up for adoption. His gratitude was rooted in the understanding that their decision had led him to a loving family and a life enriched by lessons about the true value of a person. Peter's journey had taught him that worth is not defined by physical appearance but by the goodness of one's heart. As Peter left Yasmin and Owen's doorstep, he carried with him a sense of closure and a deep appreciation for the life he had been given. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the unexpected turns life can take and the profound impact of love and acceptance. Both Yasmin and Owen felt overwhelmingly overwhelmed by the prospect of becoming parents at such a young age. They had envisioned their future filled with dreams, adventures, and personal growth. Things they felt were now slipping through their fingers. Despite their trepidation and the multitude of dreams they still harbored, neither of them wanted to consider the option of terminating the pregnancy. After a period of soul-searching and weighing their choices, they resolved to embrace the impending responsibility of parenthood. The journey through Yasmin's pregnancy was fraught with challenges. As the months progressed, her body underwent dramatic changes, growing round and unwieldy. The once svelte figure she had taken such pride in was now overshadowed by excess weight and a relentless feeling of bloating. Her once clear skin was marred by unsightly breakouts that no amount of makeup could conceal. Above all, Yasmin struggled with the constant nausea that seemed to envelop her in a never-ending haze of discomfort. Yet, despite these trials and the significant shifts in their lives, Yasmin and Owen clung to a ray of optimism. They envisioned their baby as a beacon of joy and beauty, certain that the child would inherit the best attributes from both of them. This hope provided a glimmer of excitement and anticipation, as they envisioned their future family a perfect, radiant unit that would reflect their physical appeal and charm. After an arduous 9 months, Yasmin finally went into labor. The grueling process lasted over 5 hours, and when it was over, both Yasmin and Owen were exhausted but relieved. However, the next turn of events was anything but what they had anticipated. As soon as Yasmin delivered their baby, the newborn was swiftly taken away by nurses for cleaning and initial care. Meanwhile, Yasmin and Owen were guided back to the maternity ward, their hearts pounding with a mixture of trepidation and excitement as they awaited the moment they would finally see their son. But when the couple finally laid their eyes on their newborn son, they were struck into a state of stunned silence, though not the kind filled with joy they had hoped for. As the nurse gently placed the tiny bundle into Yasmin's waiting arms, a profound sense of disbelief washed over her. "This can't be our baby," she murmured, her voice trembling with shock. Owen, too, was taken aback, his heart sinking as he caught sight of the child. The baby, in all his physical features, was a far cry from the cherubic vision they had imagined. Instead of the delicate, angelic visage they had envisioned, their son was notably different. His cheeks were plump to the point of being distended, and his face appeared to be compressed inward, giving him an unusual appearance. His nose, once expected to be a sweet, button-like feature, was instead flattened in a way that struck Yasmin as oddly resembling a pig's snout. The most jarring aspect, however, was the dense covering of hair that enveloped his tiny body. Thick, black hair grew in patches all over him, making the baby resemble something out of a fantasy rather than the perfect child they had anticipated. The sight of their son, who looked strikingly different from their expectations, filled both Yasmin and Owen with a profound sense of horror and dismay. The baby's appearance was so far removed from their ideals of beauty that they were overwhelmed by a wave of revulsion. The thought of publicly presenting a child with such a strikingly unusual appearance was something neither of them could fathom. After grappling with their emotions and fears, they made the heart-wrenching decision to put their son up for adoption. With heavy hearts, Yasmin and Owen decided to name their baby Peter. They undertook the necessary legal steps to ensure he would be placed in the care of another family who could provide him with a loving home. Within a few weeks, the adoption paperwork was completed, and Peter was officially listed for adoption. The decision, though agonizing, was made with the belief that it was the best course of action for both the child and themselves. Once Yasmin and Owen had resolved their decision regarding Peter, they believed they could finally resume their lives and craft the idyllic existence they felt was rightfully theirs. They envisioned a future that reflected the perfect blend of beauty and success they had always imagined. Meanwhile, Peter's life took a different turn. For months, the little boy was shuttled from one foster home to another, each caregiver hesitant to take on the responsibility of a baby with such an unusual appearance. The reality of Peter's situation seemed to grow increasingly bleak as time passed. It wasn't until Peter was placed with Heather Finch and her husband, Gabriel, that a new chapter began. Heather and Gabriel had long nurtured a deep love for children and had already raised 2 of their own. However, Heather faced complications during the birth of their second child, which left her unable to conceive further. This heartbreaking reality led them to make the selfless decision to foster children in need, providing temporary homes for those waiting for adoption. When Heather and Gabriel first laid eyes on Peter, their initial reaction was one of surprise. The baby's unconventional appearance was unlike anything they had seen before. Yet, as they gently examined him, their hearts were instantly touched. Peter, sensing the warmth of their presence, looked up and greeted them with a wide, infectious smile that radiated pure joy. At that moment, Heather and Gabriel were overcome with a profound sense of connection and understanding. They recognized the innocence and happiness in Peter's eyes, which spoke volumes about the kind of love and care he deserved. Determined to give Peter the loving and permanent home he had been denied for so long, Heather and Gabriel made a heartfelt decision. Rather than merely fostering Peter, they chose to adopt him, driven by their deep affection for his joyful spirit and their commitment to providing him with the family and stability he needed. They embraced Peter with open arms, ready to offer him the nurturing environment and unconditional love that would allow him to thrive. In this new chapter, Peter found the home and family he had been waiting for, surrounded by warmth and care that would shape his future in the most loving way possible. The adoption process, though fraught with paperwork and procedural delays, was eventually finalized, officially integrating Peter into Heather and Gabriel's loving and nurturing family. As the years went by, Peter matured into a young man, growing up with the ordinary joys and trials of childhood. However, one thing set him apart: the unusual and thick hair that had been a part of him since birth. No matter how diligently he shaved or trimmed his body, the hair would return with the same relentless persistence, making him a unique figure in his community. Despite facing occasional teasing and mockery from other children, Peter found steadfast support and comfort in his adoptive brothers, Michael and Tom. Their loyalty was a pillar of strength for him, as they consistently defended him against bullies and ensured that he was shielded from unnecessary pain. When Peter reached the milestone of 18, Heather and Gabriel felt it was time to share the truth about his origins. They approached the revelation with sensitivity and compassion, explaining to Peter that he was adopted, but that their love for him was as profound as if he were their biological son. The disclosure was a thunderbolt of surprise for Peter. He was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions: shock, confusion, and a deepened sense of gratitude for the parents who had raised him with such care. Although his world had just been turned upside down, his affection for Heather and Gabriel remained unwavering. They had been his rock, his guiding lights, and the idea of them not being his biological parents did little to diminish his love. Yet, amidst his emotional turmoil, Peter's curiosity about his biological parents grew stronger. He felt a deep-seated need to understand the reasons behind his abandonment and to connect with the people who had brought him into the world. Fueled by a combination of curiosity and a yearning for answers, Peter began to dig into his past. He contacted the adoption agency, piecing together fragments of information that would lead him to his birth parents. To his astonishment, he discovered that Yasmine and Owen lived near him. This revelation ignited a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions within Peter. The fact that his biological parents were so nearby made the possibility of meeting them feel tangible and immediate. Driven by an intense desire to understand his origins and to confront the people who had made the difficult decision to give him up, Peter resolved to take action. He could not shake the urge to seek closure and perhaps find some semblance of understanding regarding his past. Without further delay, Peter prepared himself for this monumental journey. He gathered his thoughts, steeled his emotions, and set out in his car, his mind racing with questions and anticipations. The drive to Yasmine and Owen's home was filled with a mixture of nervousness and determination. He wondered how they would react to his visit, what their explanations would be, and how this encounter might reshape his understanding of his own story. As he approached their residence, Peter was both anxious and resolute, knowing that this meeting could potentially unlock answers that had long eluded him and offer a new perspective on his identity and past. After driving for about an hour, Peter arrived at a house that looked quite old and worn. It stood as a stark contrast to the image of a perfect life he had imagined for his biological parents. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, Peter stepped out of his car and approached the front door. With a mix of hope and trepidation, he knocked. The door creaked open, and there stood Yasmine. The shock on her face was palpable, as if time had stopped at that very moment. She stood frozen, her eyes widening as she took in the sight of the son she had not seen for years, her flesh and blood, whom she had let go. The very reality of Peter's presence before her seemed almost surreal, an unexpected twist in the life she had long tried to move beyond. The years had not been kind to Yasmine. The vibrant, beautiful girl who once commanded attention had seen her life take a series of unfortunate turns. After making the heart-wrenching decision to give up Peter, Yasmine enrolled in college, hoping to forge a new path for herself. However, her academic journey was marred by a lack of discipline and focus. Rather than dedicating herself to her studies, she succumbed to a lifestyle of partying and indulgence, leading to academic failure. The freedom she had sought became a double-edged sword, leaving her without the degree she had envisioned and, ultimately, without the support she had once enjoyed. Her father, dismayed by her reckless behavior and poor academic performance, had severed his financial support. This sudden loss of stability forced Yasmine into the harsh reality of working long hours at a local shop. The demanding job took a toll on her both physically and emotionally. The once youthful, radiant woman now bore the marks of years of hard work and stress. Her eyes, once bright and full of life, now held a tired, weary look. Her face was etched with stress lines and wrinkles, a testament to the hardships she had endured. Her body, which had once been admired for its beauty, was now slightly hunched and burdened by excess weight. The physical changes in Yasmine were a stark contrast to her previous focus on outward appearances. Despite having once placed so much value on looking perfect, her appearance had become a reflection of the struggles she faced. The woman who had once been so fixated on maintaining an ideal image now found herself grappling with the reality of her choices and their consequences. Peter's arrival was not just a confrontation with his past, but a mirror reflecting the impact of Yasmin's decisions. As he stood before her, both were confronted with the complex tapestry of their shared history, a history marked by choices, regrets, and the passage of time. The meeting was more than just a reunion, it was a poignant moment of reckoning, where both Peter and Yasmin had to confront the reality of their intertwined lives and the consequences of their past decisions. Standing before his biological mother, Peter's heart was heavy with anticipation and trepidation. He gathered his courage and, with a voice tinged with both pain and resolve, asked Yasmin the question that had been weighing on his mind: "Why did you give me up?" Yasmin's response was a profound sigh, a release of years of pent-up regret and sorrow. Her voice, tinged with a mix of shame and resignation, revealed the depth of her struggle. She confessed that the thought of raising a child who looked so different from what she had envisioned was unbearable. The sight of Peter's unique appearance, with his thick, unusual hair and chubby features, filled her with dread. She feared that the judgment and scorn of society would fall heavily upon her. The disparity between her beauty, once admired by all, and the appearance of her child was too stark for her to reconcile. As the most beautiful girl in school, and with Owen, who was considered the epitome of handsome, she found it inconceivable that they had produced a baby she perceived as unattractive. At this moment, Owen emerged from behind Yasmin, adding another layer of irony to the scene. He, too, bore the marks of time and hardship. His once athletic frame had grown noticeably heavier, and his hair had thinned significantly. The contrast between his former self and his current state was striking. As Peter observed the couple before him, he couldn't help but recognize the bitter irony of their situation. The idea that by giving him up they would secure a life of luxury and glamour was starkly disproven by their present reality. Instead of living out the glamorous lives they had envisioned, they found themselves in mundane, unfulfilling jobs, struggling with health issues that betrayed their earlier aspirations. In an act that took both Yasmin and Owen by surprise, Peter extended his gratitude to them. His voice was steady, filled with sincerity, and a depth of emotion that spoke to his journey of self-discovery. "Thank you," he said, his words imbued with profound gratitude. "Thank you for giving me up for adoption." Yasmin and Owen were stunned by his response, unable to mask their astonishment. Peter continued, explaining that because of their decision, he had been blessed with a family that loved him unconditionally. Heather and Gabriel, his adoptive parents, had embraced him with open arms, offering him a home filled with warmth and affection. His brothers, Michael and Tom, had provided companionship and support throughout his life. The lessons he had learned from them about the true value of a person, lessons that centered not on superficial appearances but on character and kindness, had shaped him into the individual he is today. Peter's reflection on his upbringing illuminated a profound understanding of life's true values. The love and unwavering acceptance he experienced from his adoptive family reshaped his perspective, teaching him that genuine worth is measured not by external appearances, but by the kindness and integrity of one's heart. This invaluable lesson might have eluded him had he remained with his biological parents. By expressing his heartfelt gratitude, Peter offered a message of reconciliation and healing, recognizing that despite the pain and obstacles of his journey, he had ultimately found profound personal growth and fulfillment. As the weight of this emotional encounter settled, Peter's words became a beacon of hope, showcasing the remarkable resilience of the human spirit and the transformative impact of unconditional love and acceptance. His unexpected expression of thanks was a testament to the intricate and often unpredictable path of life. With a sense of closure and renewed happiness, Peter turned away from his biological parents, his face illuminated by a genuine smile. He returned to the embrace of the family that had always loved him unconditionally, regardless of his appearance. His story is a powerful reminder of the strength that comes from embracing one's true self and the beauty of finding acceptance in the most unexpected places. What an incredible story. Reflecting on Peter's journey, we see the profound impact of unconditional love and acceptance. What have you learned so far? We'd love to hear from you. Comment below with one thing you've learned from this story and how you plan to bring it into practice in your own life. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.